This program was created with much collaboration and support from teams at the Naval Supply Systems Command, the Naval Clothing and Textile Research Facility, the Navy Exchange, Northeast Tech Bridge, the North Carolina Military Business Center, the Rhode Island Textile Innovation Network, Polaris MEP, and the 401 Tech Bridge. Throughout the day, you'll hear from a variety of speakers, and the Q&A portion of the program is scheduled for tomorrow. If you have questions, please add them to the chat, and we'll address them during the Q&A. The speaker email addresses will also be available on their slides, and so that you can follow up with them directly. Please mute your mics, and if you're not the speaker, turn your videos off to help with the bandwidth. And to welcome you, I'm going to turn the microphone over to Tara Castelletti, who is the Deputy Program Manager for Innovation and R&D with Naval Supply Systems Command. Tara?
Thanks, Mary. I will keep it short and sweet. I just wanted to thank everyone for being here, and special thanks to Lee, Mary, and the 401 Tech Bridge team for their collaboration in putting this all together. Today's event has been about 6 to 7 months in the making, and we're really excited to see what new connections we make, and hopefully we can build our network for future projects, and we really hope you all get a lot out of this as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Tara. Next up is Laura Winters, the Director of the Navy Clothing and Textile Research Facility. Laura?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks, Mary. Thank you, Tara, as well. I think this is, like Tara said, it's been 6 to 7 months in the making. It's been great that we, this is the first time Nctrf has done a webinar as such, and we partnered with the greatest level of professionals executing this effort between the Naval X, Northeast Tech Bridge, the 401 Tech Bridge, the North Carolina Military Business Center, and the Rhode Island Textile Innovation Network. And it's been a great learning experience for us setting up something of this nature. I also want to thank my team as well, who's compiled a lot of very informative slide decks, as well as Navsup and NEXCOM participants, and also, the participants on the line. Without you, we wouldn't have this forum, and as Mary started, this is a collaborative entity. We're looking to have engagement, questions, so please, put your information in the chat room, and we look forward to answering all the questions as much as we can. If not, we'll follow up at a later date. So thanks, Mary, and looking forward to the discussions today. Over.
Thank you, Laura. It's really great to have you here today. Next up to welcome you is Captain Select Terry Gabriel, the Deputy Commander of Navy Uniforms at the Navy Exchange Service Command. Captain Gabriel?
Good morning, Mary. Good morning, team, and thank you for the invitation to speak as we go out these next 2 days, looking for some exciting exchange. First thing that you will all notice with me, I'm wearing the uniform, so I'm not only a participant, but I'm also a customer, and I'm looking forward to the exchange, kind of explaining what my role is in the Navy and talk to you about what we live in. The sailor is a war platform, so we outfit the sailor, take care of the sailor, and I'm looking forward to some great exchange, some great innovation ideas, and thank you for having me here. Thank you to Laura, Mary, and your teams for getting this webinar together. Big deal, a lot of participation, so it's going to be a great event for the next 2 days. Look forward to the exchange. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I would like to thank the North Carolina Military Business Center, who is hosting this event today on their zoom.gov platform. We really appreciate their support and expertise during the planning phase. Now we're going to leap into the content for the event. Most of the speakers will be presenting for 10 minutes or less, and we have a lot of interesting content lined up for you. I'm Mary Johnson. I am the manager of the 401 Tech Bridge. I will be moderating today, and I'm going to introduce Christian Cowan. Next slide, please, who will be presenting and introducing you to 401 Tech Bridge.
Thanks, Mary. I actually have the luxury of being in the same room with Mary. We're actually with a small handful of people. So appreciate all of you for joining virtually and excited for that. We've been talking about this event for a long time. So excited to be able to present this and our partners with the Navy. I am going to talk through briefly 401 Tech Bridge, about our mission and how we started and how we look to move forward. 401 Tech Bridge was born out of the intentions of 3 organizations: the Rhode Island Textile Innovation Network, that is a membership organization here in Rhode Island around textile innovators, the Composite Alliance of Rhode Island, that was rooted in the Rhode Island Marine Trades Association and fantastic partners in the composite industry, and Polaris MEP, which is the Manufacturing Extension Partnership Program here in the state of Rhode Island, supporting small and medium manufacturing growth. Those 3 organizations collaborated to form 401 Tech Bridge, which is a Rhode Island nonprofit looking to help small businesses grow through technology acceleration. Our mantra here for 401 Tech Bridge is connect, create, commercialize. So we are focused on technology commercialization. How do we take technologies, make new products, scale up companies, and add new jobs into those companies? Extremely appreciative to our funders, the U.S. Economic Development Administration, the National Institute of Standards and Technologies, Rhode Island Commerce, our fantastic state partners here in Rhode Island, the Rhode Island Foundation, Van Buren Charitable Foundation, and of course the Office of Naval Research. So as I mentioned, our 3 organizations about 5 years ago got together and really convened by Senator Whitehouse here in Rhode Island. And he encouraged us to figure out how to take small composite and textile companies to the next level. And he really pushed us to use technology because he saw the growth and the opportunities coming out from the federal level. And he's been a fantastic partner to help us build spaces, build programs, and really connect companies into opportunities to help grow their companies. And this, again, this partnership and program today is a perfect example of that. I am not going to talk through all of these partners here on the slide, but the slides will be available afterwards. In our mission of technology commercialization and advancement, we have 4 different tenets that we focus on. Starting in the upper left, we help companies find funding through projects, for that technology commercialization. Upper right, we connect with partners to help grow businesses. Bottom left, we help them access expertise. So academic partnerships and training partnerships are key to what we're doing. And then bottom left, advancing technology. How do we take technology and really make businesses out of them? So take the technology out of the lab and push them forward. So as you can see, this is an incredible partnering program. We are focused on building a lab here in Rhode Island, but we also are partnering with other labs in the state and other labs in the Northeast and across the country, again, in that same vein of technology commercialization. Just a couple minutes on the Rhode Island Textile Innovation Network, because I think it's germane to this program and this opportunity. The Rhode Island Textile Innovation Network was founded by textile companies. The fantastic executive director, Michael Woody, has been incredible on a national stage, helping the companies find opportunities and partner together. He also helped push companies to partner together during the pandemic to provide products, to provide masks, to provide other PPE into companies and applications that really needed companies to pivot. So this company, made up of 85 textile companies, more than 3,000 employees, just in the small state of Rhode Island, has really been very dynamic. And again, thanks to Michael Woody, the executive director, he's really helped connect these companies and this organization nationally. And we really are looking to scale it a little bit. We're looking for 401 Tech Bridge to help that organization and all those companies connect into national initiatives and help grow their companies. So a little example of how 401 Tech Bridge is supporting programmatically the companies per our mission. We are connecting employers into universities and finding funding to help advance their products. So the Materials Innovation Challenge really helped. We found funding to help the companies connect with university faculty and students to run projects to help create new products and push those products into new markets. And that's both in the DoD applications and commercial applications. So dual use tenets of our programs is very important. We're able to find very quickly, because of our independent nonprofit status, we're able to very quickly find funding and connect companies into larger academia that can help them. An incredibly important milestone for 401 TechBridge was 2019, ironically just a few months before the pandemic hit. We were able to sign a partnership intermediary agreement with Newark Newport here in Rhode Island. That PIA is and was incredibly important and started connecting us, giving us the opportunity to connect into Navy needs. We continue to leverage that PIA and to find projects and quickly connect them into companies, non-traditional companies that can help solve those programs. This is another slide that I won't talk through all of the details, but it is very demonstrative of the important relationship between the nonprofit 401 TechBridge on the right-hand side and the Navy-supported TechBridge on the left-hand side. There are opportunities that we both explore together, but there are certainly core competencies that the Navy can execute on the left, and we can't as a private entity. And then the important thing from my perspective is on the right-hand side of that Venn diagram, we're really able to quickly help find small non-traditional companies that can help the Navy needs and provide products and technology that can spin quickly and help the Navy get the products into the hands of the warfighter. So one example of programming, and hopefully we find more and more as the textile needs are exposed and our partnerships continue to grow. The Navy has sponsored prize challenges through 401 TechBridge. So two $250,000 prize challenges were announced. 401 TechBridge, for the previous Venn diagram, helped get the word out to some of those non-traditionals, help find companies that were sometimes already had technologies that the Navy didn't know about and were able to solve some of their needs. So those $250,000 prize awards had a follow-on of $750,000 that was really important to those smaller, again, non-traditional companies, in this case, Gertz Composites here in Bristol. And it was really exposed their technology, exposed their capabilities into the Navy. And that has translated into some very interesting and transformative projects for Gertz Composites and very supportive of the Navy needs. From our perspective here at 401 TechBridge, we expect similar projects to come through from a textile perspective. We know that there's a lot of clothing and other textile applications needs on the Navy side. That's one of the things that gets me really excited about this program. And the ability to connect the small non-traditional companies that we're aware of here in New England and then also across the country, quickly connect them into the Navy, solve their needs, and into the dynamic new programs that the Navy is launching soon. So that is a summary of 401 TechBridge. Again, I'm very excited for this program. We've talked about it for a long time, for the ability for us as a nonprofit to support the technology commercialization needs by finding funding and connecting non-traditionals into the Navy system to solve those application needs. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to hearing all the presentations today.
Next up is Scott Dorney. He is the Executive Director of the North Carolina Military Business Center. And he will give you, and Scott he has served as in that role since December 2004. A statewide component of the North Carolina Community College System with 15 offices statewide. The NCMBC is a business development and technology transition organization that connects North Carolina businesses to federal contracts, connects military and other job seekers to employment, and helps recruit defense contractors to North Carolina. Since opening in 2005, they have supported North Carolina businesses in winning 3,702 contracts for not less than $14.8 billion. generating nearly 500 million in tax revenue for the state of California. We look forward to continuing to work with you, Scott, and we welcome you to the workshop.
Well, great. Thank you, Mary. Really appreciate that. And I want to thank you and all of the partners in today's event and co-hosts for today's event. I think it's absolutely outstanding. And hopefully it'll be the first of many events that we get to do together, and certainly within this industry. It's my pleasure to be with you today. I'll give you a very short briefing about the Military Business Center, and I'm not going to use slides. And Mary summarized things actually very well. I'll update a few things. The North Carolina Military Business Center is an entity of the state of North Carolina, and that's very important because we are totally state funded. We're not a membership organization. We don't take funds from anybody other than the state. So for our government partners, that's often very useful because they know we're not trying to sell them anything. Our job is to help them be successful. North Carolina is very much a military state. We have the third highest presence of the military of any state, California, Texas, North Carolina. But we realized in the early 2000s that we were not doing everything that we could do to leverage the presence of the military to increase defense contracting and economic development in our state. So our state created the North Carolina Military Business Center to do just that. We think we have one of the best infrastructures in the country to get businesses started, to help them grow and to help them leverage new markets. And the Military Business Center is one component of that, focused on helping businesses grow through growing their federal contracting. So we were given the mission in 2004 to leverage military and other federal business opportunities to grow our economy, expand our businesses, grow jobs, and through increased federal contracting, helping our businesses employ more people, expand our economy, raise our tax base. So at the end of the day, whether you live outside of Fort Bragg or Camp Lejeune or in Asheville or anywhere in between, we provide better public services as a state, and we improve quality of life for everybody in North Carolina. We were actually given 3 goals by the state of North Carolina in 2004. Number one, to help grow the economy, help grow existing businesses through federal contracting. So we knew if we wanted to move the needle for federal contracting in our state, which is about a $9.5 billion industry. And by the way, the military overall is the second largest sector of our state's economy, about 12% of our GDP and about $66 billion annual impact. But contracts are about 9.5 billion, which is excellent, but it can grow. We knew that we would have to grow contracting 2 ways: get more businesses in North Carolina, large defense contractors, and help our existing industries grow through federal contracts. So we were given the mission, as I stated, to grow the existing industries. Our first goal was to help those existing industries in North Carolina grow through additional federal contracts. We were also tasked with helping transitioning military people in our state, and 18,000 people get out of the military every year just from the bases in North Carolina. We wanted them to stay in North Carolina as the #1 engine for growing our existing businesses and to attract new businesses to North Carolina. And we do that not because we love military people, which we do. Most of us are retired military or veterans, but because it is an economic development opportunity. Our third task was to support the recruitment of more defense contractors to North Carolina, and we do that on a daily basis. In 2016, we took on the additional goal of technology transition. So our basic primary operations are business development. So when the state created the Military Business Center, it didn't replace our PTAC or our small business centers, but we realized we were doing what every state does, and that's develop the supply side, the supply of businesses that can perform federal contracts. What was missing was anybody looking at the demand side of the procurement equation. So that's what the Military Business Center does. We refer businesses to our PTAC and other agencies to get ready for federal contracting. Our business development team at 15 locations across the state monitor federal agencies, monitor key industries for federal contracts every day. We identify those contracts, we connect them with the businesses, and then we provide the technical assistance to help businesses to compete for contracts. Our business development team works almost 10,000 contracts every year, connecting them to businesses. We also do it electronically with our matchforce.org web portal, which businesses register in, and through NAICS code matching, they're matched to federal contract opportunities every day. Businesses compete. We did open the Defense Technology Transition Office, as I said, in 2016 to do that tech transition mission to help our businesses transition technologies into DoD. It works. The bottom line is, as Mary said, actually, we just went over our 4,000th contract. So those aren't people who come to our classes. Those are actual physical contract opportunities that we've connected to businesses and then help them compete on a government contract, which has brought in over $16 billion in revenue into our state and over $600 million in state corporate income tax. When you compare that to what they spend on us, our ROI is quite significant as a resource to businesses in North Carolina. We do have several strategic industries that we focus on, like military construction, medical, biomedical, biodefense, cybersecurity. One of those areas is textiles. Textiles and soldier systems are critical, still a big industry in North Carolina. There's plenty of DoD and other federal demand. So we have a strategic focus, strategic industry professional, business development professional, strictly focused on textiles, clothing, and soldier systems, which is why every year we host a Southeast region Federal and Defense Textile Summit, which we're looking forward to hosting in a physical environment again next spring. So our message is pretty straightforward. If you're a North Carolina company, we want you to contact the Military Business Center and let us help you grow your federal portion of your portfolio. If you're located outside of North Carolina, we want you to contact us because we all know that teaming, subcontracting, joint ventures, mentor protege is extremely important in this market. And we're looking forward to connecting you and helping businesses in North Carolina work with you to meet the demands of the military. If you're a government person, we want to talk to you as well, because our job is to sustain the military, both our bases here in North Carolina that are so essential to our economy, as well as our federal and military partners nationwide, because we know it's our responsibility to get the best products and the best services into the hands of the warfighters. And that's what all of us on this meeting, that's what all of us participating in this symposium are all trying to do. So with that, I would encourage anyone, please contact us at the Military Business Center. We look forward to working with you. We're very excited about this opportunity today and tomorrow. We look forward to working with everyone, and thanks for the opportunity to tell you about the NCMBC. So Mary, back to you.
Thank you, Scott. That was a terrific overview. Thanks so much for joining us and for being part of the program. And I'm sure that most of the companies who are participating today are going to be in touch with your office very quickly.
Great.
Just for those who joined during the introductions, I want to reiterate that we have a lot of presentations today and that all of the Q&A will be discussed tomorrow at the end of the presentation. So please put your questions in the chat and we will be collecting the questions and routing them through the team for answer as part of the Q&A session tomorrow morning. Tara joined the Naval Supply Systems Command headquarters in 2019 as an administrative officer in the corporate operations. In 2022, she accepted the position of Deputy Program Manager for Innovation and R&D in Sub 03 Directorate at Navsup headquarters. In this role, Ms. Castelletti works to promote innovation at Navsup via collaboration, building communities of practice, promoting ideation, and driving research and development. Tara, I'll turn this over to you, and we're looking forward to your presentation.
Thanks, Mary. So as Mary mentioned, my name is Tara Castelletti, and I'm the Deputy Program Manager for Innovation and R&D at Navsup headquarters. I'd just like to tell you a little bit about our organization, where we fit within the Navy, what we do, and how we promote innovation at Navsup. Next slide, please. In early 2021, Navsup's commander, Rear Admiral Pete Stamatopoulos, released the Navsup 2021 Commander's Guidance. I won't dive into all of the text here, but I will say that one of the key Navsup mission focus areas is ensuring alignment with Chief of Naval Operations Navigation Plan priorities, which are sailors, readiness, capabilities, and capacity. Next slide, please. Here you'll see a high-level org chart for the Navy with each of the systems commands listed. Navsup, shown on the far right, has several Echelon 3 commands reporting up. Navsup Weapons System Support, Navsup Business Systems Center, Navy Exchange Service Command, which houses Navy Clothing and Textile Research Facility, and 8 fleet logistics centers located around the world. Next slide, please. This slide illustrates the Navsup enterprise workforce led by Navsup Commander Rear Admiral Stamatopoulos, who also serves as Chief of Supply Corps for the entire Navy. The Navsup workforce itself is made up of 23,768 military and civilian employees with 1,555 Supply Corps officers. Outside of Navsup, there are 26,185 Supply Corps officers and supply enlisted in the supply community. Next slide, please. So now that I've given you a little bit of an overview of Navsup's organizational structure, I wanted to talk about what we do. So we support the Navy and Joint Warfighter by managing the supply chains that provide material for Navy aircraft, surface ships, submarines, and their associated weapons systems. We provide centralized inventory management and a wide range of base operating and waterfront logistics support services. And Navsup is also responsible for quality of life programs, and we administer the Navy Food Service Program as well. There's actually a really great video out on YouTube called Naval Supply Systems Command, What We Do. It's 2 to 3 minutes long, and it's actually a really nice overview of what we do. In the interest of time, I won't play it here, but I encourage you all to check that out. Next slide, please. This next slide illustrates Navsup's innovation roadmap, and it shows you how we use innovation and R&D to meet Navsup goals. Shaping an innovative culture, promoting ideation within the workforce, and driving research and development are our driving principles. The focus of innovation at Navsup is primarily on modernization and supply chain optimization. Customer service is also a huge part of that. The warfighter is our customer, and as the presentations continue today, you'll get a clearer picture on how clothing and textiles fit into that structure and those enterprise goals. Next slide, please. The innovation team at Navsup is continuously working on new ways to shape an innovative culture. Collaboration is just one of the ways that we do this. We strive to be somewhat of super connectors, connecting our teams to those with common goals to facilitate information sharing and also agile decision making. We also look for new opportunities to build communities of practice to overcome commonly faced problems at Navsup. We work with our teams across Navsup to promote ideation within the workforce using a few different platforms. First, we have a logistics innovation cell that meets monthly to review problem sets and collaborate on solutions. And we also crowdsource ideas using our ideas portal, discussion forums, and through networking with subject matter experts. Next slide, please. For research and development, we try to drive ideas that fall under 3 broad categories: customer service, inventory, and speed. In addition to clothing and textiles, Navsup is interested in topics like digital engineering, additive manufacturing, warehouse modernization, 5G, audit, RFID, and digital logistics. Next slide, please. For innovation, we recognize that there is no one-size-fits-all approach, so we try to be as flexible as possible. We use a team of teams approach to break down silos, to bring the right people to the table, and then to come up with solutions that benefit everyone. We also utilize external resources, which is how we got here today. By opening up these communications, we were able to utilize the Tech Bridge as an outside resource to create this event and connect with you all in this forum. I won't go too much into our internal processes, but I did want to mention on the R&D side of things that we're continuously looking at how we evaluate topics for potential R&D projects. We're really trying to focus in on key areas that align with Navsup's mission and goals, rather than just accepting a broad range of ideas from folks across the enterprise. We're a small team within a small command compared to others within the Navy, and that definitely has its challenges. For instance, our office manages the Small Business Innovation Research Program at Navsup, which you'll hear more about later today. And we don't always have topic submissions for SBIR projects, which usually comes down to a lack of resources, unfortunately. However, the SBIR program is highly collaborative across the Navy. Even when we don't have topics to generate new projects, we're engaged, we're collaborating more with other commands, and even evaluating proposals for topics that weren't submitted by Navsup. Overall, by improving the way we communicate and operate within our teams, we ultimately will better understand our targets, which then fuels collaboration, allowing us to be better connected to industry, to really understand the technology available, which will then hopefully lead to greater participation in R&D projects as we move forward, then leading to an overall positive impact to Navy and to DoD. So that is all I have for you today.
Tara, thank you very much. That was an interesting presentation, and we're very happy that you were able to join us.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Next up, we have Laura Winters. Laura became the director of the Navy Clothing and Textile Research Facility in October 2018. In her role as director, she has oversight of the Nctrf mission to maximize the quality of life for Navy sailors through uniform and protective clothing development and sustainment. Laura is located in Natick, Massachusetts, and she executes this mission in Natick and Philadelphia alongside a team of 30 highly skilled professionals. She oversees a budget profile of $6 million with a 60-40 split of customer reimbursable to operations and maintenance Navy. She has over 20 years of professional experience working within the textile field. And I also want to thank Laura for being the lead as we put this workshop together. She's been a tremendous help in helping us find the experts who are speaking to you today and helping us keep all the details straight. So Laura, I turn this over to you with much thanks.
No worries. Thank you, Mary. Greatly appreciate it. Without the support of the 401 Tech Bridge and all the North Carolina Business Center, this wouldn't be possible. This is our first go at a webinar, hopefully not our last. Hopefully next time it'll be in person. Due to all of the other environmental conditions. So Mary provided a very nice intro. So thank you, Mary. I'm a textile geek at heart. I have been doing textiles. I have a degree in textiles. My background's in material science. I will get told that I get too much into the wickets at a senior level just because I really do geek out, and a lot of my employees will have to tell me to back off because I'm very much into the industry and improving the industry and the support. And I have a phenomenal team at Nctrf, which you'll hear from a lot of them later this afternoon, who execute our mission successfully for many years. And I feel it's an honor to be at the helm of this group. So I look forward to giving you a brief overview of the organization. Hopefully I won't step on anybody's toes later today. You'll also receive in this brief too as well comms for a lot of the personnel that are presenting to you this afternoon. So if you go to the next slide. So as Tara was saying, the CNO, that's our leader that provides us that information in regards to requirements for the sailor. So we work with a lot of the fleet to get that information out there and to understand it. So it's how we operate is not based off of, oh, this is a great idea, let's do it. It's based off of what the requirements is, and that's based off of policy, training, and doctrine. So we rely on a level of communication up the chain in order to properly assess what these requirements are. So as you can see that I apologize for the acronym that's there. That's the Chief of Naval Operations. I'll correct that at a later date. But so it's Chief of Naval Operations, and then you can see up the chain and where Nctrf fits in that mix. So the interesting part of Nctrf, and you'll hear from Captain Select Gabriel soon, is our uniqueness in how we execute the mission. We are a totally appropriated funded command, where we report up to a non-appropriated funded command. So in that, Navy Exchange falls in within Navsup. So you can see the two entities that are there. We have the Navy Clothing Textile Research Facility, and then we also have a liaison office that's located in Philadelphia. In our organization, we support all of those uniform items. So at the bottom, you can see the government issue. Those are the sea bags. That's what the recruits get when they come in, they enter into training. And then we have the commercial uniforms, which is the officers and chiefs, and then our organizational clothing, which we'll go into further those specific commodity areas, because that's a very broad reaching topic area. Next slide, please. So Nctrf, as Mary was saying, my budget's referenced here, the amount of folks that execute this mission and have been doing it successfully for many years. It is, they're highly focused on the mission, which is the sailor. I think everybody comes to work every day, and not I know everybody comes to work every day with that focus point and successfully executing it. For over 50 years, we've resided on Natick Soldier Systems Center, and we also have been executing this mission set for over 100 years. So the way the structure at Nctrf is, we have commodity areas. So you have the uniform and certification group, the organization and protective clothing group, the design and testing laboratories group, and then of course you can't function without your business administration group. And we all work together in executing this overall mission. And each of the teams has some uniqueness within the teams, which I won't go into, though it'll be explained further. But one of the unique areas that we execute is the technical warrant area. And they'll go into it further, but that is really that subject matter expert that has oversight of specific commodity areas, and it's unique to the Navy. So we have two warrant holders for Navy uniforms as well as general purpose organizational clothing. And you'll hear from them later this afternoon. Our expertise area, again, as I said, I'm a textile geek at heart. So you'll see that our technical experts are in textiles and clothing design. We have a lot of extensive knowledge in that area. And also in regards to that area, I think the business development that North Carolina Business Unit is doing, as well as the 401 Tech Bridge in the textile area, is really a challenging area. I graduated from UMass Dartmouth, and they no longer have that specialized textile area. That's really unique to certain universities, and it hasn't really, I think it's more shrunk than necessarily grown. And a lot of it's been in the material science area versus true textile technology. So I think we struggle in that area in acquiring a true textile technologist. So that's areas that we look to hear from industry, hear from areas that we're doing improvements on, and I'll get into it further with the capabilities, but it really is a difficult area. Another area that we always struggle in as well is that cut and sew operations. I think that skill set is really diminishing, and it is going to be, we're going to be at a huge disadvantage just because nobody wants to do the sewing. And so I think getting together and collaborating more from a government side and from an industry side and from, helping to innovate and such, it will help to bring, the interest area and spark that interest area. Like the slide says, we're located on Natick Soldier Systems Center. So we're located on an Army installation. Our headquarters, NEXCOM, is down at Virginia Beach. The location really is key because on this installation is all uniform development that's being executed. So my team can collaborate very easily, a little more challenging in this environment, but if we need to talk to somebody over the Air Force, we can literally walk over there. If we need to talk to somebody over in Special Forces office, we can walk over there if we need. So we have that access, and we also have access to areas of support on the installation. There's 4 tenants. We have, there's a Coast Guard unit, and then there's USAREUM, is the internal medicine research. And then there's also the Combat Capabilities Development Command. So In the USAREM, which is the internal medicine, they have capabilities for similar redundant capabilities in testing of biophysical. They were able to collaborate with them to maintain our function and operations if we run into issues. And the same goes true with USAREM. So it really is a collaborative approach on the installation. And it is, although it's an Army installation, we do effectively work together from a services perspective and from a DoD perspective. As I said earlier, we have the bulk of the team resides within NATIC. We have a few individuals that are located at DLA, and they execute and facilitate the mission for engineering support, as well as executing the mission for the dialogue with the sustainment folks. So the Defense Logistics Agency that's executing the procurement actions for our contracts. Next slide, please. So this is, brief. I won't go into specifics for our capabilities because you'll be hearing a lot more information from others soon. So, but a lot, as you can see from the slide, a lot of it, we are a laboratory. So we do have an Office of Research and Technology Applications Manager. So we are considered a laboratory along with the administrative functions and the project officers that reside there. So we have both of those capabilities. And one big aspect that we do is certification and quality assurance, and that's for all of the NEXCOM items that are procured, and that's assuring that what they're procuring at that retail side, that we have the level of quality that we expect and the level of functions that we need that are required for a uniform. So you'll hear from the uniform and certification group briefing that aspect. One thing at the bottom, you can see the government and industry standards. That's keeping apprised of what is being done within the standardization bodies, ASTM, ATCC, and keeping our awareness in that area. A lot of the times, some testing requirements are unique to the government, so there might be changes that occur. So we maintain that understanding and dialogue with those bodies to be assured that we can execute the mission accordingly, and anything that requires updating, we can execute. Next slide, please. So program efforts. This is a very brief snapshot of efforts that we've worked on since FY16. Like Mary said, I joined Nctrf in 2018. So I think I don't have the backstory from a lot of these areas, but I do think it kind of harkens to some of where we're effective and where we're able to transition these items to the sailor. So it takes an iterative approach to execute a lot of these mission sets. So as you can kind of see FY16, we executed safety boot. So we were successful in getting an understanding in that time frame. And then what we learned where it was deficient and where we needed to keep moving towards improvements. And I'm happy to say FY21, we're moving out and we have a great new product that's going to be coming out soon for the sailor. These efforts, although they seem like, oh, wow, that's a long time frame. But, in some cases, we go into an item, we look at it, we think it meets the requirements, and then we understand those requirements to be true. And then we find out that maybe it's good in this area, but we got to look at other areas. So it's a true research and true understanding of, making that level of improvement and development so that ultimately we have this quality product that the sailor or the warfighter can utilize. One area that would be of interest that we really was successful, and I think there were articles that came out about the steam suit. That was prior to my time, but that was a very good example. It's out, there's good articles in regards to the efforts that Nctrf executed as an organization, collaboratively with industry. And, if anything can come out of this engagement, I think the real key is it really is a collaborative effort. Like Tara was saying, we can't be providing that quality product to our sailors without industry and without, participants that are on the line, and having the opportunities and having the connections that are being made by North Carolina Business Center and the Tech Bridge. So it really is a communication, a level of engagement, and we're very open to hearing about technologies, and we look forward to the questions that individuals may have or companies may have of us. So, and as you can see, we're continuing our efforts, and this, the intent of this forum is really to kind of look at, yes, we want to answer some questions we have for the now, but it's also to looking to that 5-year out, like where can we start moving the Navy towards, where can we start further understanding and further improving. So you can see one of our big efforts in FY 18 and FY 16 such is really understanding that sizing. And that really is a key element that came about as looking at patterning and in how things were executed and that lack of standardization. So we're really moving that needle. I would say I came from the Army side. I would say the Navy is really starting to make that advancement in that area and really starting to hone in on how to improve that sizing and fit, which will affect industry, which will improve industry practices and also improve the way that we make our procurements, the government does. Cold weather is a big area as well that we're looking at. We're continuing to make that improvement. We actively engage in all the forums, the collaborative forums that are out there currently, as well as actively engage with the other services because they've been doing development for years prior. The uniqueness for our area is really that maritime environment that we need to take into consideration, and also those FR requirements as well. So we can go to the next slide. So these are I just kind of covered 4 areas where we think, as I said, the beyond 5 years, keep moving in that area, practice and start understanding some gaps and look for technology that might be, up and coming and might meet some of the requirements that we're continuing to identify. So sizing, we recognize that the sizing, there's some changes in the dynamic in sizing and such, and there's a lot more, instead of areas being gender specific, it's a lot more gender neutral. And I know industry is looking at a lot of practices in that area as well. So we're looking for some, knowledge and lessons learned and potential areas where we could start better understanding that area. Fit, the biophysical of clothing, although we want to we want to be more gender neutral, but is there a differentiation in the fit from female to male, and how does that affect from the biophysical standpoint? Automation is always key. It would be ideal if you could put something aboard a ship and be able to print it, and items that aren't heavily used, but you could print that textile component aboard a ship and they could have it at the ready when they need it. Garment constructions, I know we're small mom and pop shops, a lot of them are out there, but if there's means and methods to improve and facilitate garment constructions and make it more efficient, or cut out down some of the steps in the construction. Textile, like I said, our capability for testing, looking at areas that we can improve our lab operations, data management tools. Sustainable practices is really a new realm that we've started to investigate. Contracts cover down on the aspect of using recycled fibers, but we're putting in area or trying to develop a better understanding of where we can establish some of these sustainable practices and what could be feasible. And then looking at eco-friendly alternatives. The leather comes to mind specifically. Just looking at, is there areas that we could still have that same level of quality, but make the item more eco-friendly. And like I said, the protective performance areas. Our mission set, we do have the FR requirement aboard a ship, as well as the maritime environment. Next slide. So this is a list of the points of contacts at Nctrf that you can contact directly with specific areas or questions. They all will be presenting later on this afternoon. So I think that is my last slide.
Excellent, Laura. Thank you very
Thanks.
much.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate your time today. Can we go to the next slide? And one more, please. There we go. All right. Next up, we have Captain Select Terry Lynn Gabriel, the Deputy Commander of the Supply Corps, who enlisted in the Navy in 1987. After serving 10 years on active duty and attaining the rank of first-class petty officer, she earned her bachelor's degree in business administration and then transitioned into the Naval Reserves. In 2000, after 2 years as a drilling reservist, she returned to active duty and received her commission through the Officers Candidate School in Pensacola. She received her initial MBA from Webster University and an additional Master's of Science degree from the National Resource Strategy from the Eisenhower School at National Defense in 2017. It's a remarkable amount of education. Captain Gabriel has served operational tours and shore tours. So we're very pleased to have her here with us today and look forward to her presentation. Welcome.
Thank you, Mary. That bio just says I've been doing this a long time, so thank you all. Just a quick note here. You can see my bio. It says Commander, and then she's calling me Captain Select, so I am a new captain, just recently promoted, so I'm just waiting to put it on. There's a little delay on how promotions are done in the Navy, but yes, I will be putting on captain here shortly. Next slide. So as Laura finished up her presentation, this is a great segue to show you exactly how her organization and my interface. So I am the Deputy Commander of Navy Uniform Programs. So my team works with the Innovation team and the Uniform Matters teams at the Naval Office of Operations. So we're the ones that kind of take everything in and start processing for uniforms. The best way to think of it is the sailor is a platform, and what they need to be outfitted is kind of our warfare systems. So a lot of things go into Navy uniforms. It has to be shipboard compliant, it has to be fire resistant, it has to be safe, it has to be movable. So all these things are taken into account for Navy uniforms and military uniforms in general. So it is a large operation, and as you can see, a large organization, a lot goes into it. I work directly for the Navy Exchange Command CEO, and we fall under Navsup. So as you can see, my team is comprised of several entities that work together: accounting, merchandising, financing, research and development, uniform support center. So we all come together to make the decisions on naval uniforms. And as you can see, I'm the director sitting right there, kind of in the middle, and it works more of a hub and spoke. The next slide. So Navy uniforms is segregated into two areas that we'll talk about today. First, you have the Navy uniforms, and that's basically what you see the sailor wearing each and every day, what we have on our backs and what we live in. So the government issue aspect is what is issued to us in our uniforms, what comes directly. So you'll see the junior sailors, E1 to E6, that is what they wear each and every day, and there are various uniforms and components that come with that. And then we have the commercial certified uniforms that you'll see the chiefs and officers wear. So a little bit different expense and what goes into the research and development. But those are what you see sailors wearing each and every day. That's what they live in. And then you have the other aspect is organizational clothing. So this is the protective clothing, safety equipment, and accessories that are owned by the commands that are issued to the sailor when they need them for various operations and things that they do. So this could be flotation equipment, flight deck boots, flight deck jerseys, whatever the sailor needs to be safe and to do their job effectively, that they aren't required to buy or own themselves, the command issues and gives to that sailor during that time. And then when they leave that duty or leave that job, it is given back to command. So that is organizational clothing. So we'll break down that a little further to give you details on the next slide. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is sort of an eye chart, but it will explain exactly what I just talked about, but more in detail. So how did we establish Navy uniforms? Where did decisions come from? Well, initially, the conversations began with the Chief of Naval Operations, the Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy, and the fleet. What do we need, or what do the sailors need, and how do we get there? So on the left side, you'll see 3 different color boxes. The blue box is the policy and requirements. So as I stated, what does a sailor need? What are we trying to get to? What are we looking for? The yellow box, where Laura's team comes in, the technical design and development. They help to bring that vision to life. What do we need? How does it work? Laura's team will take that in, produce a product, and we'll work from that. And then the green boxes at the bottom are material management, procurement, and sustainment. So basically, once we have the item, we get it made. How do we manufacture it? How do we pay for it? And then how do we continue to sustain it for periods of time? The next 2 boxes, you'll see dotted boxes. So the blue dotted box represents the uniforms, what I told you that the sailor wears each and every day. And each of the 3 components on the left work for those uniforms. How do we best fit those uniforms? What do we need? So these are the entities that make those decisions. Doing the same thing, how do we have that same approach? So the blue dotted box is the Navy uniforms. The purple dotted boxes are for organizational clothing. So this is your safety gear, your protective clothing. Different entities make decisions on what is needed to do the job. And these are the entities that go together to make those decisions. As you can see, Laura's team is still actively involved in that for technical innovation, but this is where you get aspect from the submarine community, the aviation community, the construction community. What do we need to do the job shipboard, on aircraft, in the desert, overseas? They specifically come and say, this is what we need to do the job. We go into development with Laura's team. They give us some ideas. They solicit the industry to kind of help us craft what we need. And then DLA is the source that kind of helps us pay for those, does the shipping, helps us with manufacturing, dealing with the vendors. So like I said, it's an eye chart, but believe it or not, uniforms, not a sexy weapon system or, IT equipment, but it's still just as important because the sailor lives in it. We're talking about life and death. So it's extremely important that we get it right here. Just an example of that I just experienced. I just got off the hospital ship USNS Comfort, and we went up to New York. And while up in New York, critical PPE and medical equipment, medical protective equipment for the doctors and nurses were critical. So Laura's teams were involved in giving us the appropriate innovation, getting us to the right places to get the right mask, the PAPR suits, kind of the biohazard suits with the airflow to take care of the surgeons who were dealing with COVID patients. So this is why this is important. We have to have the right innovations to take care of sailors' life and death. So just as important, maybe not as sexy as a missile system or some fancy drone, but I would say more important because our biggest asset is a sailor. That is who we need to take care of. Next slide. So Navy uniform projects. So these are some recent projects that we have just completed or about to complete that Laura's team has been integral in getting us to completion on. So these are different items that have taken place or been upgraded in the past 2 to 3 years. I'll just run through them very quickly because some of the acronyms you might not understand. So the Ptu Upgrade, that's our physical training uniform that we exercise and do physical training in. So Laura's team was integral in helping us get a more moisture resistant, breathable PT product for the sailors to wear that can be worn on shipboard, that can be easily washed and cleaned and dried quickly for sailors' use. So we're in the process of phasing out this upgrade right now. The next is the SWO jacket, which is the Surface Warfare Officer jacket. So I know you've probably seen the aviators with the brown bomber jackets. Well, now the surface warfare officers, have a similar jacket for shipboard use, and that's under organizational clothing. But in some of their cold weather areas and in some of their industrial areas, they needed a leather jacket for safety, and that's what they're utilizing. As mentioned earlier, Laura talked about improved fit. So as we know, one size doesn't fit all, and that also comes down to Navy uniforms. And the biggest innovation that we've been working on is improved fit for female uniforms, which has been a challenge for years. I live it, I speak it. So what we've done is modernize the fit for female sailors. This is a big innovation, still ongoing, but we've had some upgrades in sizing, cut, and fit for women in the service. So this is a big deal and been lauded by several individuals in the fleet. So thank you, Laura and her team, for coming up with that. We have a new design on our Navy safety boot, the iBoot 5, better fit, softer leather, better traction, able to utilize this same boot in various areas. So being on the ship, we have different kinds of boot for the engineers, different kind of boots on the flight deck. Well, we were able to come up with one safety boot that meets all needs, and it's a better fit, a little bit cheaper for the sailor. I'm right now in the process of phasing out sending out the Maritime 2-piece fire-resistant shipboard organizational clothing. So we have 2 variations. The khaki that you see are for chiefs and officers, and then the navy blue will be for the sailors. So we'll be rolling this out in the next couple years. We're about to do the wear test, but this is the new item that the fleet will be wearing shipboard and operationally. Many of you might have heard about our coveralls, seen our coveralls, but those can only be worn on the ship, can't really get off the ship or do anything outside the skin of the ship in that uniform. This is kind of an upgrade to that the sailors will be able to move about a little more freely on the ship and off. And then being a female, it is nice to have a 2-piece uniform by a 1-piece zip up. So this does help in every aspect. Then we have the submarine sweater. It's a wool sweater that for the submariners that they will be wearing. You can't wear acrylic sweaters or any kind of materials for shipboard use. So we have to have the right materials, and that's why innovation is important to get us there. We're in the process of doing a maternity pilot program, which is a congressional mandate that all the services will be participating in on how to better issue or make it cost efficient for military sailors to get maternity uniforms. Controversial issue, but it's a fact of life. As you have females in the military, they will get pregnant, and we still need to take care of them and outfit them. So this pilot program is going to kind of advance that, look at better fit, better costs, and all the services will be doing this pilot program over the next 5 years. And again, we also see uniform standardization for females. That is ongoing. That's going to be a couple years in the making. But previously, we only had 2 or 3 different fits and cuts for female uniforms. Now, as we know, bodies have changed over the decades. Uniforms is keeping up with that. So that's where we are. Next slide. So this slide is our Navy uniform system. So we have several components and several different uniforms. Fortunately and unfortunately, the Navy has a lot of uniforms. This chart just shows you the different uniforms and different components that go into Navy uniforms. So you'll see the service uniform for the enlisted sailors, the iconic Cracker Jack uniforms, had an upgrade on the white and the navy blue with the piping on the bib on the back, piping on the sleeves, better fit, better cut, and better materials. And then just immediately to the right of that, that is the officer in chief version of the service dress uniform, white and blue. All female officers and chiefs are now wearing the choker uniforms. Uniform made famous in Top Gun. Everybody loves the white uniform. It is now gender neutral. We all wear that as our dress white uniform. The working uniform, the uniform that you see on us, see more often every day, is our woodland camouflage uniforms. It's called a Type 3. And then the yellow and blue is the current PT uniform. As you see, we're upgrading and transitioning to the blue on blue uniform. And then we have the dinner dress uniform. So we do a lot of formal activities and do a lot of formal. So we have a dinner dress blue and white uniform. You see the two variations there. Service uniform for chiefs and officers. You'll see in the Pentagon and some other senior areas, you'll see the khakis, and then in the summer whites. So a lot of innovation going into this. Like I said, the sailor is a platform, and these are the uniforms and items that we are taking care of, upgrading, and that's where you all come in. We need better fit, better quality. As the industry moves into different innovation, different materials, that's where you all come in, and that's very important to us. How can we be better, get better materials, better fit? What's going to work better for the military members? So looking forward to a great exchange with you all as we move into these couple of days. And I do believe that's all I have. The next slide is our points of contact. Oh, excuse me. So doing business, as we go through these next couple of days, you'll learn how to do business with our organizations. You'll get this slide in the video. Take time to click on and find out how you can get into submitting your innovations for further evaluation and research. And then next slide. So here are our direct points of contact for each area. Like I said, our top decision makers comes through OpNav, and that's Mr. Rob Carroll. He sits in DC. And then my team, the Navsup team, including Laura, those are all our point of contacts. And then NAVC, the areas I told you about, organizational clothing. So this is for the shipboard side. And then Nav Air, this is the aviation folks. So you'll get these points of contact, and you can reach out to them and ask specific questions after the webinar if you so choose. But Mary, that is all I have for my presentation.
But Deputy Commander, thank you very much for your presentation. That was fabulous, and congratulations on your promotion. Amy, so now we have Amy Brayshaw, excuse me. She is the Organizational and Protective Clothing Group Supervisor. Amy has joined the Navy Clothing and Textile Research Facility in 2007, and she has 22 years of experience as a textile professional. She's a proven leader and manager of cross-organizational high visibility uniform and protective clothing projects. Amy, thank you for being able to speak before the break. What we're going to do for everyone is Amy is going to make her presentation, and then perhaps Louise, and then we'll go into the break rather than breaking early. So thank you very much. And Amy, over to you.
Great. Thank you, Mary, and thank you for that introduction. We can go right into slide 2, please. All right, so this is a good follow-on to Captain Select Gabriel's and Laura Winter's briefs, because it just provides a greater level of detail specifically on the organizational and protective clothing group that I am the group supervisor for. So I just wanted to reiterate what organizational clothing is, so it's clear. And Captain Select did a good job of defining it, but I'm again going to reiterate that organizational clothing is defined as any clothing loaned to an individual by a naval activity for which there is a requirement above and beyond authorized Navy uniforms. It remains the property of the Navy and is returned to the activity when the individual is transferred. So some of the examples are foul weather jackets, flight suits, coveralls, things like that. So those are the items that my team and I are focused on in research and development. So what we do is we provide technical support to organizational and protective clothing efforts across the Navy. And I've included some logos on the right side of some of these organizations. We are 100% reimbursably funded by partners such as Navsup, Fleet Forces, NavAir, and NECC. As Laura mentioned, we maintain the Navy's technical warrant for general purpose organizational clothing, which I'll describe in more detail in a moment. But responsibilities of the warrant includes program management, R&D, and advising the Navy Protective Clothing Board. Our group also includes the Navy's Liaison Team Office, which is co-located with DLA in Philadelphia. This team provides technical and logistical support for Navy clothing, textile, and individual equipment, and is the focal point for all Navy activities requiring engineering support and new item introduction. Next slide, please. So general purpose organizational clothing items fall into several different categories, such as footwear, handwear, headwear, coveralls, cold and wet weather clothing, and other miscellaneous items. And I've included some photographs from across the fleet of examples of organizational clothing being worn by sailors in various scenarios. Next slide, please. So current programs that my team is managing includes, and some of these have been mentioned previously, so I'll just give a little bit of information starting at the top left. We have an SBIR on seamless knitted garments, and this multi-year effort is looking at the seamless knitting technology, characterizing its benefits of this construction technique in Navy items, and we are assessing the technology in a specific Navy item in a wear evaluation. Our focus is the flight deck jersey, which is pictured here. Next is the Maritime armor system. Nctrf has worked with Navsup to merge the requirements of 2 different ballistic vests into one system specifically for the Navy. And that's an effort that's been going on for years and is in the process of being introduced to the fleet. Then we have the improved shipboard FR jacket. The current item, which is pictured here, has been in the system for over 2 decades. And our team is researching new technologies to incorporate into the jacket and modernize it. Next is cold weather clothing. The current system is antiquated, and so Nctrf is developing a new system for Navy-wide implementation, and we're working closely with Navsup and Navair on this development. Female footwear fit. Nctrf is working with the Army and Air Force to assess footwear fit differences between males and females with a focus on boots. And then on the bottom left, an improved shipboard coverall. There are currently 4 different FR coveralls worn on ships. So Nctrf is working with Navsup and Navair to merge the requirements of all the 4 coveralls into one design. Navy variant of the Army combat uniform. This program that Nctrf is supporting is for Navy customers who require an FR variant of the current NW type 2 and 3. We're basically piggybacking on an existing Army design, but developing it in Navy unique camouflage patterns. And then, as Laura mentioned previously, we've had quite a focus recently on really understanding sustainable materials and processes, and determining ways the Navy can introduce more sustainable products and practices to its clothing and textile items. Next slide, please. So recent programs for the Organizational and Protective Clothing Group have included the submarine sweater, which Captain Select Gabriel mentioned. This sweater was something that we reintroduced. It had previously been an Army item that had been phased out, but there was still a need for it by submariners. So we worked with them to develop and reintroduce this item. Much of our past year, as you can imagine, has been spent on personal protective equipment. Never did I imagine that I'd be working on face coverings and face covering implementation, but that's a lot of focus of what our team worked on over the past year since the pandemic began, and also PPE decontamination on ships. For specific items, organizational clothing items that are typically hot swapped and shared among sailors, we had to very quickly come up with ways of decontaminating shared items during the pandemic. So there wasn't spread of COVID. And then also the SWO leather jacket, the rapid development introduction of that leather jacket for the SWO community. We also developed the two-piece FR uniform for shipboard use, and that's in the process of being introduced. And then, as Captain Select Gabrielle mentioned, the Navy safety boot, which is actually replacing 2 items and meeting the requirements of several naval communities. And you know, some of this is repetitive from what Laura had said earlier, but sustainable materials and practices such as recycled content, reducing carbon footprint, incorporating non-toxic materials and waste reduction, a real focus on cold weather clothing development and improvement due to the increase of military missions in the Arctic. We're working closely with the other services and in these development efforts. And then multifunctional materials and clothing items that meet several requirements at once or meet the requirements of more than one service or Navy community. So those are the areas that we are currently and hope to focus on more in the future. So thank you very much for including me on the agenda today. And I look forward to receiving questions either later today or tomorrow.
Terrific. Thank you very much, Amy. And sorry about that last slide. Miguel, can we go to the next slide, please? Now I would like to introduce Louise Caulfield, the group leader of uniform and certification for Nctrf. Louise is responsible for new item development, product improvement, and quality assurance for all U.S. Navy service, dress, and utility uniforms that are issued to recruits at boot camp or purchased by officers and chiefs at the Navy Exchange. A current program that falls under her purview is the standardization of fit and the sizing of female uniforms. Previous roles at Nctrf include the business development manager, director of dress clothing division, and assistant to the technical director. Louise, thank you very much for joining us, and we look forward to your presentation.
Thank you, Mary. I appreciate the time to into this virtual information sharing platform. It's different and it's a sign of the times. As Mary's introduction alluded to, I've been doing this for a number of years. Thoroughly enjoy it. I've witnessed some great uniform changes over the years. The NWUs that a lot of these were on Captain Gabriel's slides, women's jumpers, choker uniforms for the females, enlisted service uniforms. We've done a lot over the years to reduce the number of uniforms in the sea bag, as they call it, and still provide a quality standardized uniform for the sailor. Currently, I'm the team leader for the uniform and certification team. I've got a great team, subject matter experts, a very dedicated team. A lot of the folks I see participating probably work with these folks. I'll just run through. The list is Tammy Chang, Kelly Fratelli, Kim Olin, Darlene Rich, Nicholas Rusin, and Amalia Cipitano. As we go through some of these discussions, please reach out to these folks and share your thoughts and ways we can really affect the quality of life for the sailor and improve their quality through uniforms. Again, a lot of you know me, I could talk all day about uniforms, so I'll jump into the overview of the uniform and certification team's responsibilities at Nctrf. As you can see from these pictures, there's a wide variety of uniform items that fall under the team's purview, and it's uniform items. Captain Gabriel slide had a great picture of all the different uniform systems, and majority of those fall under the purview of our team. So, you know, we're a small team and very broad in our areas of interest and research and development. Again, where Amy's team is focusing more on the general purpose and protective, we're looking at the service uniforms, the dress uniforms, and the working uniforms, the NWUs. And these uniforms also, you should note, is they encompass the uniforms, and Navy is a little bit unique from the other services where there's a very few uniforms where an enlisted sailor and a chief and officer wear the same uniforms. So that increases the breadth of uniforms. But my team is responsible for the sea bag, which any of the sailors coming into Great Lakes Boot Camp will be issued these uniforms. And we're also responsible for the officers and chiefs uniforms. And another distinction is the enlisted sea bag uniforms are procured through DLA, and the officer and chief's uniforms, as well as optional items. And I always use the example of a tiara that may not be in everybody's wardrobe, but they do sell it at Navy Exchange. So again, it gives you an idea of the breadth and the type of uniforms that we're responsible for. We're responsible for the research and development aspects of a new item, product improvement for existing items. And with today's diminishing domestic textile and apparel industry, you know, it's imperative that myself and the team keep up with the changes in technology. We're under a Buy America Act on both procurement agencies, so we need to be able to procure these fabrics and finish findings, buttons, zippers, all this good stuff, but from domestic sources. So that's becoming a challenge, and I'll talk more about that. But again, this is what our team is always working to strive to find the best items that can meet the requirements for the Navy sailor. We still need to work with our vendors very closely on the commercial side, the NEXCOM vendors. We're in the plants as COVID permits, and we're partnering with them. We're sharing information and making sure that the form, fit, and function of the uniform is standardized across wherever. If I've got 3 suppliers making a dress coat, they all have to look the same at the end of the day. So that's a bit of a challenge, but we have a very sophisticated database system that monitors the certification of uniforms sold through Navy Exchange, and also the quality assurance program assures that we give the sailor a high quality uniform. Nctgrf, under my team, we're dealing with the quality assurance for the items procured by NEXCOM. When, you know, as we're doing these R&D things, and as folks in the audience are proposing items or components, keep in mind that one of the unique aspects of Navy uniforms is, with the exception of wool uniforms, all Navy uniforms are required to be able to go through a shipboard laundering process. That's a bit of a rigid process, and that's what we have to be sure that we can maintain the shipboard laundering and still have a serviceable uniform within a given wear life of that product. In addition to the research and development aspects of new items, the uniform certification team, diminishing domestic supply base. 2 of the current needs we have right now that we're having struggles in identifying are, one is a solution dyed acetate, that is the fabric that's used for the iconic neckerchief worn with the choker, with the jumper. And it also melamine buttons. We were down to 1 supplier on that. So as you know, if you get down to 1 supplier, that's a that's a concern in the supply chain. We also are having issues with finding trimming materials, chest pieces for dress coats, interlinings, and the decorative gold lace that would go on the sleeve of service dress blue uniforms. I think Laura alluded to the need for rapid prototyping. Some of our development programs that we're working on, right? One is the improved physical training uniform. And what we'd like to do is go out and get prototypes that are produced by industry and get the feedback from industry. Can you make it? Can you follow our patterns? Can you provide the trims that we're requiring? But it's very hard to get industry to kind of bid on those small prototyping contracts. It's small volume, and it's for them to build up a line to run that. Maybe it's not always cost effective for folks, but there's a niche out there. If someone is interested in working with rapid prototyping for different types of items, I think that'd be not only from Navy, but I understand, talking to our industry, our other service partners, they have the same challenges. So I think there'd be a good niche there. The other area that we have find hard to find out in industry is the dress clothing manufacturers. You know, I'm not sure if that's a lost art. Are there tailors out there? We have some great ones right now, but it's a concern that we're not going to be able to keep up with the needs for the dress clothing industry. The tailored industry is very unique. You need to understand the patterns, how the items fit on the body. It doesn't lend itself to rapid production. So, and we're trying to make some adjustments so that we can keep our industry partners developing our uniforms and producing high quality uniforms. A lot's been talked about in these briefs about size standardization. And I think Laura's slide, I looked at it, I said, oh my God, if we've been doing it that long, and it's been a piecemeal effort for Navy, but we've done size standardization studies, anthropometric studies. We've looked, and we've got a great collaborative program going now, a joint service program. So we've got a lot of stamina behind it now. We've identified the Navy bodies, male and female. We've had a lot of complaints over the years about fit and lack of standardization. And now that we've identified the bodies that we're going to fit, we've been able to narrow down the sizes needed and hone in on the population that we have today. And we've standardized the process, and there'll probably be more discussion about it of block patterns. So I have high hopes. The next big hurdle on that is the implementation and looking at some of the other fit challenges, gender neutral, plus sizing, big and tall. I want to make sure that we're taking care of that part of our population as well. And we've developed a partnership with commercial vendors that are working with this on a daily basis. So I think this is groundbreaking, and I look forward to the introduction of that. Part of that too is the made to measure program. Again, making custom made uniforms. And what's a better way to get the measurements and get it onto the cutting floor and get the uniform back in a timely manner for the customer. So we'd be interested in any thoughts on that from industry. And I'm sure a lot of commercial folks have this challenge as well. What's the best way to get customer feedback? And how do we correlate the customer feedback and make sure that we're providing the sailor with the product they need? So we certainly understand that our job is difficult. We got to fit the 5 to 95 percentile. They can't go to another department store, if you will. The Navy uniforms are either issued or you procure through NEXCOM. So I really welcome for the experience tomorrow on these one-on-ones to hear what people can offer to help work these challenges. And I will say with the industry over the years, it's been wonderful. It's a great partnership, and there's a lot of people out there working to do the best for the sailor. And I appreciate it, and I know the sailors do as well. So thank you for your time, and I'll push it back to you, Mary.
Next, we welcome Chris Diaz, who is the lab manager of the Navy Clothing and Textile Research Facility. And that includes the biophysical, flame, and textile performance labs. Chris joined Nctrf in October 2020 as a physical scientist in both organizational and protective clothing group and the design and testing lab group. Chris is now a senior project leader and scientist in the design and testing laboratory group. Chris has over 10 years of experience in research, development, test, and evaluation, and the acquisition of military clothing. Chris is the project lead on 2 Navy Supply Systems Command research and development projects for the Navy shipboard and cold weather clothing, as well as Nctrf's biophysical testing lead. Chris, welcome, and we look forward to your presentation.
Mary, thank you for the introduction. So I'm Chris Diaz. I'm the lab manager for Nctrf testing and evaluation laboratories. We have 2 main lab areas, the Textile Lab and then our Biophysical Lab. And I'll start off with the Textile Lab. Next slide. So our Textile Lab is equipped to perform physical, chemical, and flame testing of materials and garments. Our lab is proficient in performing over 100 standardized test methods, including those from the American Association of Textile Chemists and Colorists, ASTM, ISO standards, as well as those from National Fire Protection Association. Our team has technical expertise to modify test methods and test apparatus to meet customer needs or item-specific needs, such as tests to more closely resemble how sailors are using particular items, such as testing items for buoyancy or their effect on the overall buoyancy of the sailor. Nctrf also has an extensive laundering capability, and we have laundering machines that are used aboard Navy ships and submarines. I think mentioned earlier by Louise, we do extended laundering studies of fabrics during our R&D process in order to evaluate the durability and maintenance of performance attributes of the fabrics, such as material strength, the flame resistance, color fastness, dimensional stability, and water repellency. While the Textile Lab does garment level testing, the majority of the testing is done on swatch level and fabric level testing. Next slide. Conversely, the biophysical lab tests primarily end items and clothing systems, while we do have fabric testing capabilities using our sweating guarded hot plate and other apparatus for fabric testing. So the biophysical testing that we perform focuses on thermal insulation and evaporative resistance of clothing, as these 2 factor into comfort and performance in specific environmental conditions, as well as their information is used as the input into heat strain decision aids, which have been developed by the Army Research Institute of Environmental Medicine. So our lab, we're able to perform thermal sweating mannequin testing with our extensive collection of full and partial thermal mannequins in accordance with ASTM test methods F1291, F2370, F1720, F2371, which cover thermal insulation using the full mannequin, evaporative resistance of clothing using the full mannequin, performance of sleeping bags, as well as the effects of cooling vests or micro cooling systems. So Nctgrf has 3 sweating thermal mannequins, one of which is based on anthropometric data from women in the military. It's the only one of its kind. The pool mannequins weigh between 150 and 160 pounds to replicate body weight, and they're fully submersible. We also have 2 thermal hands, one of which sweats, and the other one is submersible, 2 thermal feet, one of is a sweating foot, and a thermal sweating head. And to replicate various environmental conditions for testing, we have 2 environmental chambers and 1 hydro environmental chamber. The 2 chambers, we can control air temperature, humidity, and wind speed. The chambers can operate from 0 to 150 degrees Fahrenheit, which is -18 to 55 Celsius, and at 5 to 95% humidity. The air and water temperature of our pool in the hydro environmental chamber can be controlled. We can control both of these between 35 and 130 degrees Fahrenheit. The pool also has a wave generator, so we're able to test both in calm and rough waters. This is particularly useful because in rough water can cause compression of garments such as your wetsuit or dry suit, and have effect on the thermal insulation value of it. In addition to our immersed mannequin testing, the pool chambers have also been used for human subject testing, as well as buoyancy testing. Do next slide. So while the testing evaluation labs have expansive capabilities, we do have some challenge areas. One challenge that we have is we have a small team here working within the lab. And as you've heard today, there's quite a few developmental and product improvements going on within Nctrf, as well as we do testing for other customers. So in order to address this, we're looking at improving the efficiency of our lab by things such as automation or remote capabilities for testing and data management. So much of the mannequin testing, you set up the mannequin, start the test, and you can walk away. However, in order to monitor it, you have to be there at the computer. So having remote capabilities, we're able to step away from the actual experiment and do other things while conducting tests. By improving the overall efficiency, we can also have an impact on the speeding up the R&D process. One method would be if we are finding test methods to bridge the gap between fabric level to system level testing, we can do less testing in order to down select materials, which saves time. And then also, once we have fabrics down selected, replicating laboratory to operational testing, we have better modeling using the data that we do collect using our mannequin and fabric testing. We can reduce the amount of testing required prior to doing operational testing. One additional challenge area is to reduce equipment downtime. So we have the 3 environmental chambers, as well as the lab. Textile Lab has a conditioning room. So the process to control and maintain the conditions in all 4 of those areas relies on a pretty complicated system, and looking at ways to better optimize the equipment we have so that we can increase uptime with our system. And we'd also looking at expanding our biophysical studies. So as I mentioned, we have a woman mannequin. However, it's pretty new, so we haven't done a lot of testing using the mannequin. Most of the testing the military has performed has been with Nemo, which is a male mannequin. So being able to relate how garments perform using the woman mannequin, whether having gender-specific clothing sizes have an effect on performance, is something we'd like to look at, as well as since we do buoyancy testing, Sometimes in order to replicate human weight, we'll use one of the thermal mannequins for buoyancy testing, while it's not really its intended purpose, or we'll have a test apparatus which replicates a body form to do testing with. However, we would like to look at the effects of body composition on buoyancy, so being able to have different size, either mannequins or forms, so that we can test various body compositions and how it evaluates and performs in terms of buoyancy. And our last focus area is to put more focus on the R and Nctrf, which is research. In order to do this, we'd like to increase the cooperative research that we do, and also small business innovative research. Also increase testing service agreements. So we're able to do, through testing service agreements, we're able to do testing for other agencies within the government, as well as academia, other companies, and the public. So this allows for opportunities for companies to look at, use our unique capabilities, as well as to see other opportunities for collaboration between the Navy and the public. So I thank you for your time, and it's at the end of everything. If there are questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Chris, thank you very much. We appreciate your contributions, and thank you for the interesting, I suspect you're going to get questions about companies who are interested in doing testing in Insight. So we can add that to the list of things we talk about tomorrow afternoon, or tomorrow morning, excuse me. Next up, we have Lynn Anderson. Lynn is a clothing designer, design and testing labs group at Nctrf, where she joined Nctrf in 2008 as a clothing designer. She provides technical design and pattern support on various items, including a range of utility, dress, and protective uniforms. She recently transitioned into the lead role within Nctrf Design and Lab Testing Group, mentoring junior designers, assessing group operations for process improvements, and functioning as a co-lead for the Navy on 2 integrated project teams. Lynn, thank you very much for joining us, and we look forward to your presentation.
Thanks, Mary. Hi, everyone. As Mary just said, I'm Lynn Anderson. And following on from Chris's brief, we are the other half of the design and testing laboratory group. So I'm going to focus on the design and pattern portion. You can go to the next slide, please. And actually, yeah, there you go, perfect. So just to go over some of our current capabilities, we're responsible for all the pattern creation and maintenance for all Navy, Marine Corps, and Joint Service Chem Bio, and some other customers as well. So within that pattern design, we work fully in Gerber AccuMark. We're on the latest version, which right now is 13.2. And we also have some additional Gerber equipment within our shop. So we have the single ply cutter, 2 plotters, 1 large, 1 smaller, and a digitizer. We also recently started using Gerber 3D. Pattern design is the main function within our team. So we have 5 employees working fully within AccuMark. So we do everything from the pattern creation to the grading, and then we also use alteration files and size codes for the different bodies and body shapes and statures for, you know, petite and tall and so on. Next is the fit expertise. So kind of going hand in hand with the pattern making, our group is also responsible for ensuring the right fit of the garment, so that technical fit. We assess for all items for dress, utility, and protective. Our process generally is to first fit on the dress form, then on a body, so like a fit subject, and then finally we'll perform a full fit test on large groups of users, and to get beyond just that functional fit, also look at the user group specific to the end mission of that uniform. Since we do a lot of design development, we're also responsible for illustrations and prototyping. So working in Adobe Illustrator, we create illustrations of flat drawings for specifications, as well as detail illustrations to show more of the detailed construction. As we know, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So having that capability to have those detailed illustrations is a very important tool for us in communicating with customers and manufacturers. Prototyping is also a very critical step for us in the development process. It helps us to create those prototypes internally to flesh out design concepts and fine-tune patterns before they get to that production phase. Next slide, please. So although we are Navy, our pattern room runs mainly on reimbursable funding from our customers. So as Amy and Louise both just briefed, for the uniform certification program and the organizational and protective clothing, we support both of their groups in all those uniforms. In addition, we also are responsible for all the Marine Corps patterns for both their field and dress program and their armor and load programs. We also support the Joint Service Chemical, Biological, Radiological, and Nuclear Defense programs. So we're responsible for all the sustainment garments to include coveralls, socks, you name it, and then also some of the developmental items. And lastly, we also have all the pattern work for the U.S. Postal Service. So in all of these customer bases, we provide that full range of capabilities that I just explained for the patterns, fit expertise, illustrations, and prototyping. So we try to be that one-stop shop for all of our customers. Next slide, please. So areas we're interested in the future. As Louise briefed a little bit ago, the inclusive sizing. We have an effort going on right now with the size standardization, but we are also interested in looking at expanding that with inclusive sizing for plus, big and tall, and non-gendered. A piece of that puzzle is also determining size nomenclature and marketing. So that way the size naming provides an understanding to the customer, but also doesn't create a bias or a disassociation to a size name. Within all of that inclusive sizing, there's always still that goal of reducing tariffs wherever possible. So kind of that perfect balance is what we're aiming for. Material developments within industry is a big thing that really affects us in our pattern making and technical fitability. Every user that we talk to, any chance they get, they always let us know that they would love some stretch in their uniforms and their materials, which I understand. I don't blame them. So that's something that we're always looking for. FR also continues to be a requirement more and more. So we do struggle though sometimes to find FR components and materials that still have those same properties and act the same way that the non-FR item would. So that's something that we're always looking for. Thermal burden is a trade-off with protective clothing specifically. So sourcing lightweight but protective materials for ballistics and sea burn protection is always something that's on our radar. Software updates, like I said, we stay up to date with the latest Gerber AccuMark systems, but we also want to know what else is out there that could potentially improve our processes. 3D is definitely something that we're interested in to reduce the first round prototypes and streamline our development process. The biggest hurdle I think we have here is that we deal with very complex patterns and items. So, and often have to look at it as a layered system, not just one shirt. So we're looking for something that can produce a true to life rendering that could legitimately replace those first round physical prototypes. PLM is not something that we're currently using. However, it is something that we're interested in and exploring. And lastly, the pattern configuration management in general. So we're responsible for hundreds of patterns. It's very different than industry, where industry has seasons and they have a start and an end to different styles that they rotate through. In the government, nothing really ever ends. Every uniform is around for a long time, and so we still have to manage all those patterns. So the ability to streamline that pattern configuration management is something that's very important to our group. Currently, we use AccuMark alteration files and size codes to maintain those different body shapes and statures within one pattern model. But would love to hear if there's other technology out there that does something similar or better. And then everything really comes back to the workforce. We have 5 great people and we have 2 open positions. So ensuring that we have the right people at the right time to perform our jobs is really key. So recruiting for a very technical skill set is not always the easiest thing to find. So if we're missing any outlets that could be useful for us to help find those people, and also upskilling. We do a little bit of everything, but we don't know everything. So we're always looking to try to expand our knowledge base and would love any opportunities that are out there to get into. So that's a little bit about our group and what we do and where we're going. If you want more information, definitely, like Mary said, please put questions in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lynn. Next up, Tara Castelletti will be rejoining us with Chris Espenshade, and they will be talking about SIPRs and STTRs. Chris and Tara?
Hey, good afternoon. I'm going to tell you a little bit. I'm going to tell you a little bit about our Small Business Innovation Research Program, which is sponsored by the Office of Naval Research and also extends to DoD and other federal organizations as well. Next slide, please. There we go. SBIR is a highly competitive 3-phase award program, which gives small businesses the opportunity to propose innovative ideas that meet the specific research and development needs for the federal government. SBIR projects can span multiple years. Phase 1 is the study phase. Phase 2 is prototyping, and phase 3 is when production units are deployed. Further R&D or evaluation can occur during this phase, but also this is where we work with small businesses to commercialize. The goal of this program, or I should say goals of the program, are to stimulate innovation, to use small businesses to meet federal R&D needs, to encourage participation by socially and economically disadvantaged small businesses, and to increase private sector commercialization, which will then increase competition and economic growth. Small businesses are eligible to participate in SBIR if they have 500 or fewer employees, if they're for-profit, and if they're primarily US owned. Next slide, please. To come up with topics, we have an R&D project idea backlog that we look at, and we also coordinate with our Navsup partners to prioritize those ideas as well, and then also generate new ideas based on evolving business requirements. When we submit topics to Office of Naval Research, the topics get released as a broad agency announcement, and small businesses will then be able to submit their proposals to provide a solution. BAAs are released 3 times a year, and each BAA has a pre-release, an open, and a closed timeframe that you'll need to be aware of if you plan on submitting a proposal. ONR publishes the topics for small businesses to view before the BAA opens, which gives small businesses an opportunity to ask us questions. However, once the announcement is open and proposals are being accepted, those discussions aren't allowed to happen anymore. Next slide, please. On this slide, I give a quick overview of how small businesses can participate in this program. First, you're going to want to make sure your business is eligible. You're going to want to ensure the topics that we release are consistent with your technology and capabilities, and then be sure to read the BAA to make sure that you understand the requirements. You can find templates for proposals on the Navy SBIR website, which I encourage you to check out. There's a lot of really helpful information on that website. So the link is on the slide there below. Next slide, please. Actually, something I wanted to mention before I move into this slide, once you've determined that your proposal meets the need of the topic that you're interested in, you can actually then go ahead and submit your proposal. But there were a few tips listed on the slide on the previous slide. And I'd say that understanding the deadlines to give your team enough time to prepare is really the most important out of those listed, because you want to take advantage of the time frame where you can ask us questions to really build a good proposal. So I just wanted to mention that before we moved on. So on this slide, I just talk about the benefits of the program, and really they can be pretty widespread. Small businesses get the opportunity to work with the federal government and provide the fleet with innovative advances in technology, while also developing their technology to be able to compete with larger firms. Successful SBIR projects are able to transition a company's SBIR effort into products, tools, or services that benefit the Navy acquisition community. SBIR projects are able to be built upon. So securing non-SBIR funding to enhance ongoing projects also accelerates transition and commercialization. When small businesses commercialize their technology, they can sell their product to anyone in DoD. And the best part about that is when you get to that phase 3 of an SBIR project, you don't have to compete with other firms. So I'm gonna turn it over now to Chris Espenshade, who will delve more into doing business with Navsup. Chris, over to you.
All right, thank you, Tara. Yep, thank you. Thank you 401 Tech Bridge for putting on this event and inviting us to talk a little bit more about Navsup, give folks an understanding of what Navsup does from a products and service standpoint, as well as what our unique contracting mission is. We're pretty unique out there in the Navy as far as what our responsibility. So real quick breakdown, and I believe Tara probably touched on a lot of this information before, but the Navsup mission is unique in that, hey, look, we're here to deliver global logistics and quality of life support for the Navy and joint warfighter. Obviously, the bulk of our work here is at Navsup weapon system support. About 40 to 50% of our obligations are supporting weapon system support, but that also includes foreign military sales, includes material handling equipment program office, as well as supporting the other FLC waterfront activities such as hazmat and warehousing. So Navsup has 8 major fleet logistics centers positioned around the world that support waterfront contracting, fuel management, again, hazardous material warehousing, transportation. And then the quality of life piece of it that is often kind of overlooked is our postal support, as well as household goods movement on behalf of our sailors and Marines. Additionally, here at headquarters in Mechanicsburg, we have Navsup Business System Centers that covers our IT software development, along with supporting sustainment programs such as ERP and STARS, and then supporting our food provisioning and retail operations, along with ordnance and again, the household goods support. And obviously, you've been on this call. NEXCOM is a really important customer for us that does a lot of great work there for the sailors and Marines. Next slide, please. So this is, again, a visual representation of, Navsup's involvement is not solely just at the waterfront. There's a lot of engagement with not only commercial partners, but DCMA, DLA, Transcom, our SysCom, PEOs, and this entire sustainment operation from initial provisioning through end of life. So it's a lot of quality of life. It's a lot of weapon system support for the fleet. So really, Navsup has its hands in most of all Navsup or Navy operations. That includes from acquisition to storage to distribution to the disposal. And next slide, please. So this is just a quick overview, I guess, of what really makes Navsup unique from a contracting standpoint, from a procurement responsibility. So really, Navy Marine Corps' acquisition supplement lays out what each unique head of contracting activity is responsible for on behalf of the Navy. So of course, Navsup is responsible for supporting those quality of life and weapon system support functions, but it also includes supporting any Navy command that doesn't have its own contracting authority. So in result, what does that mean? So we delegate contracting authority out to over 600 commands. So we have a very broad and unique contracting mission that equates to over 40% of the Navy's actions. So by dollar obligation wise, we're about a $7 to $8 billion command. However, again, we make up 40% of the actions on behalf of the Navy. So small business focus points. So in FY20, we executed over really close to 1.6 billion to small business. That included over 31,000 actions and roughly equated to 22% of our total obligations. The majority of the spend, and you'll see broken down, is for small businesses on the knowledge-based services side, where we had 637 million go to knowledge-based services, and then you had a lot of sustainment support for weapon systems. Last year was very challenging for us. We had, of course, budget impacts that impacted our ability to execute against our goals. However, this year we are on pace to exceed all 5 of our targets. So again, it's one area that we're obviously tracking is overall small business, but we have a lot of interest in hitting our small disadvantaged business, service disabled, veteran-owned, women-owned, and then hub zone, which can be challenging at times, but we put a lot of effort out at our buying commands to hit those targets. Next goal, please. Next slide, please. Okay, so I guess
that was actually your last one.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so if you have any questions in regards to Navsup small business, how to engage with buying commands in general, what I would leave you with is along the lines of what was presented before for under Tara's SBIR recommendations is really research what a command buys and where you fit in. What's unique to DoD is what we're most interested in is that end goal of supporting the mission. So if you can frame your approach as, hey, this is what I can do faster, better, cheaper, that's in your best interest, and that will get you noticed. So thank you.
Terrific. Thank you very much, Chris. We appreciate both you and Tara's presentations. Thanks so much for joining us. So we do have a couple of minutes here where we can take some questions. If you could please add them to the chat. I have a couple that are here that we can start with. This one's directed at Lynn Anderson. Lynn, the workforce of the future is a hot topic at the University of Rhode Island's Textile Department. How might the Textile Department facilitate recruitment, information distribution, and dialogue with our students to help connect them into the kind of skills you need? And actually, anyone who is welcome to, any of our presenters are actually welcome to address that, but it was directed at Lynn.
Sure, yeah. So we occasionally do have open positions. Right now, one just closed, and there was another one that I think hasn't posted yet. But anytime that, if there's any connection that we can kind of tap into, then definitely reach out to me or also Laura Winters, and we can make sure that we can send those notifications to you once they come out.
I'll also add, thanks, Lynn, that was great. I'll also add into that area. Navsup is, our hiring actions go through Navsup, and Navsup has a really good program that we've engaged on, as I had also briefed, locating skilled individuals, learning about uniforms and understanding of uniforms and these requirements that reside in the military. I will 100% say you don't learn that in school. You learn it on the job, and you learn it by interfacing Captain Select Gabriel and those that wear the uniform. So Navsup does have a program which they'll go out to universities. So if there is events that are occurring within any of the universities, and please contact myself, because we're very much interested with engaging with the textile industry and developing that relationship. And so what happens is they'll go to these events, and some areas that we have openings that we have hiring authority. Also, we can be able to accelerate that. There's potential in that area, but there's also the areas that we're looking for maybe a potential contract support, and it's good to have those skills and understanding of what's coming out of college and such to facilitate that hiring. And oh, by the way, if there is an opportunity that you would like any one of the individuals to brief that and kind of help to provide a framework for those that are in the school system of the programs, I will say I didn't learn anything about, and Lynn can probably attest that, oh, you're one day going to be supporting the Department of Defense in developing their uniform. So, I mean, it's a phenomenal mission. I think anybody who you can say is you're supporting those that, you know, fight for our right and freedom, I will say you'll get goosebumps from them. So it's a phenomenal mission, and we're happy to have dialogue with, if needed, to kind of help build that skill set. Over.
Yeah, I would agree. Just in college, I never would have imagined that I would be somewhere, you know, within helping to support the military, although we are a private nonprofit and not directly a part of the Navy. But I don't think that it's really discussed a whole lot in university programs, and that it is really helpful to be able to understand that there are actually careers for pattern makers and sewers and designers and all sorts of things in these, you know, in your divisions. And so that's terrific to know, and we can certainly help spread the word. And I'm sure you'll get a follow-up from you or I to invite you to speak on campus. The next question is, when someone has an idea specifically for a wearable device, it says for SOF special operators, would it be best to look through the SBIRs first to see if the technology fits the existing opportunity, or to contact one of the presenters? This is coming from a university researcher, if that makes a difference in the answer.
So it doesn't make a difference. I think, again, when requirements really what drives our efforts. So if there's requirements that align with it, then I would reach out. Sometimes it can be a little difficult. I would look at the SBIR system, but sometimes it can be a little difficult to navigate the process. I know tomorrow there'll be 3 of us that are kind of helping to, lack of a better word, demystify the process. So Chris will be back, and then Rich Hannibal will be joining us, and myself as well. So if it's, I think you could reach out to individuals here and they could help to facilitate actions accordingly. But I would look on the SBIR website as well. And Chris, I believe you have something to add.
Yeah, sorry, trying to reach my mute there. Yeah, I think that's great advice. Obviously, you know, check to see if there's any broad agency announcements out there right now that are looking for something in that ballpark. I would also recommend that you reach out to ONR directly. Their small business director and office would be, you know, obviously interested in hearing what capability that you have that they can help get you through the process of getting in touch with the end user to do, you know, at least a introduction and to see if there is capability there that they're interested in.
Terrific. Thank you very much. The next question is, what is the timing of the phase out for the Ptu upgrade? That may not.
That one, currently there is no phase out. We're at this time frame. We are going through a wear evaluation. So there hasn't been a rollout plan established. And then from once we understand the rollout plan, the phase out plan will follow. So right now it's status quo. Over.
Okay, great. Thank you. Is there a website or a resource that has product specifications?
So Assist is the website that you can access a lot of the military specifications and the SIDs and such. PDs, that has been a challenge space that we have been navigating. It's not accessible on the website. The contact point is typically the preparing activity for that document, where it resides. So whatever service it may be, we have been, due to the requests that we've had, we've been trying to work with DLA to establish PDs within the Assist website, but as of yet, it's not happening. So the active service would be the one that you would request information in regards to PDs. Over.
Great, thank you. I think that that's it. There were a couple other questions more specifically about, oh, thank you for, oh, I'll share that out, Amy. Thank you very much for the assist website. It seems like there were a couple other questions specifically about matching specific products into, and I will, so if somebody has, I think this follows up on the same question that you just answered, right? If somebody has a specific product that they would like to pitch in to see if there's use for it within the Navy, the business support offices are probably the place to start, or to review the SIBR requirements to see, or topics to see if there's one that isn't aligned with their expertise.
I would say yes, if you align with the requirements as Tara and had briefed earlier, that aligns with the SIBR requirements. If it's a larger company, I would directly contact the POCs that presented today, where it aligns with uniforms or general purpose organizational clothing, or if it aligns with NEXCOM's mission, the retail aspect. Rich Hannibal will be present tomorrow, and he'll be providing a little more insight into that area.
Laura, do you want to add anything as we close out for today?
No, I mean, hopefully the attendees, it was helpful and the discussions are viewed and assessed over the evening. If there is additional Q&A the next day, there's definitely time, that opportunity for it. I think the forum tomorrow, the panel, the discussion will be very informative as it presents both frameworks from appropriated funded efforts aligned with non-appropriated funded efforts that fall underneath the quality of life for the Navy sailor. So I do want to close and thank all the presenters. Everyone did an exceptional job, and I also want to thank those that are participating and taking time out of your day, and as well as the folks that helped to facilitate the support for this event. Like I started earlier, it's our first go, and without these professionals and highly skilled individuals, and Mary and Lee and Miguel keeping me on point and making sure all the information is provided in a timely manner, this wouldn't have been as successful. So thanks everyone for the day, and look forward to discussions tomorrow. Over.
Terrific. Thank you very much. Again, thank you to all of our presenters and to everyone who attended today. We truly appreciate your participation. Feel free to reach out. I'll put my message in, or my email address in the chat as well. You can reach out to me if you think of questions overnight that you'd like to be included in the Q&A tomorrow. And we look forward to seeing you all tomorrow at 11 o'clock.